Human nature has always fascinated me. I've noticed that we have the ability to form opinions with some of the most minute pieces of information from events or circumstances that occur. One I'm referring to are perceptions. We sometimes hold on to these right or wrong opinions, perceptions really, for a very long time. So let me tell you my story. I was around 4 years old. My family and I were living on my grandmother's farm while we were waiting for our new house to be built. It was a great place for a kid my age. Like any 4-year-old, I so enjoyed the animals on the farm and working with my grandmother in her very large garden. One of my most favorite things to do was to help my grandmother collect eggs from the chicken coop. I love the chickens, especially the baby chicks when they were newly hatched. I couldn't think of anything I looked forward to more. Every morning, my grandmother would pick up her egg basket and call me to come with her to collect the eggs. She would hold my hand and we would work for a short while, talking about things I thought that were immensely important. My favorite subjects were about the peacocks that roosted in the trees, the baby calf that was newly born, the bullfrog in the spring house, and feeding the very large fish in the fish pond. After a bit, I would run ahead from her until we reached the chicken coop, where I was permitted to collect eggs that I could reach from the nest that didn't have a laying hen. While my grandmother collected the rest of the eggs, I would look for the biggest, prettiest white feathers I could find to add to my collection. After all the eggs were collected, we would head back to the house to make breakfast. It was a ritual I looked forward to every morning. This went on for a while until one particular morning. I hadn't slept very well the night before and had woken not feeling quite myself. My mother came into the room to help me get ready for the day. When she saw me, she looked at me and she said something with a very worried look on her face. This is when I heard the word that changed my 4-year life forever. "Oh, sweetheart, I think you have chickenpox." I asked what chickenpox was, and my mother said it was something children sometimes caught. I wasn't allowed to go and collect the eggs that day. I was heartbroken. I was sick for over a week. I was so miserable, with all those ugly red spots all over me. Somewhere in that week I had started to associate why I had gotten chickenpox, and I just knew they had to be from the chickens and the chicken coop. Eventually, I was well enough to go out and play. My grandmother asked if I wanted to go to the chicken coop to collect the eggs. I vigorously shook my head and said, "No." She asked me why, so I told her the chickens had made me sick. She had a very puzzled look on her face and asked why I thought that. I told her I knew the chickens had given me chickenpox and added I didn't like chickens anymore. Over the next few days, I wouldn't go out of the house because of the chickens. No amount of explanation or coercion could make me see the light that the chickens had not caused my chickenpox. I was not to be dissuaded from my belief and my opinion. When I finally did go out and play, I was always mindful as to where the chickens were and would run from them whenever they would come close. My life on the farm was not very fun anymore. It was a few years later when I finally realized the chickens in the chicken coop were not the cause of my chickenpox. How sad it was that I acquired this perception through a 4-year-old association of words. I had permitted myself to not really enjoy the experiences of my grandmother's farm from my perception. My fear of getting sick was far too great a challenge to allow me to venture out on the farm as freely as I had before. I will always remember that experience as a reminder to keep an open mind when I perceive something to be a fact. It is important not to allow misperceptions to prevent us from enjoying what life has to offer. Taking a little time to check out whatever information is available about an old or new opinion without judgment is very important.